Hi, I'm Rob Patz.
And I'm Kristen Stanton.
Ho, ho, ho! And this is the Rob and Kristen Show. Hello and welcome to the North Pole, or our studio. Santa would be proud of the tree, and we are so excited for you to be here.
It is so much fun to be around here at Christmas time.
It is. It's the most wonderful time of the year.
How many cliches are we going to have today?
I don't know.
Just don't break into any
But I'll
kind
be
of song.
home for Christmas. I know that.
Well, I'm dreaming of a white Christmas.
Well, we already had a little white snow here in the great state of Ohio, but this time of year, it harkens us back to our past. In fact, we were talking about that today as we were out driving around, that the holiday season to us is so special because we had, family that made it special.
Mm-hmm. So what are some of the things that you found that you thought of when you think about Christmas? What does that mean to you?
For me, I think a lot about eating. Because
why would I be surprised?
And there was a point where, and if we had the ability to, which we're not going to, but if we did, you would see pictures of me when I was younger, and I was very small. I was tiny. My mom used to have to take all my clothes in. But eating and food was always a big part of it, and fellowship and time. Family was huge. We talked about that, and about Christmas Eve in our family was always so special.
So what kinds of things did you do Christmas Eve?
Christmas Eve was eating, which usually was a big deal. It was probably kind of like Thanksgiving. It was usually a turkey, though sometimes it was ham. And my cousins can back me up on this. Ham as an alternative at Christmas was never well received.
Why?
Because it should have been Thanksgiving again. It was Thanksgiving part two.
No.
Yes.
Christmas should be different than Thanksgiving. Means you should have different food. Because then Thanksgiving isn't as special.
Well, and we talked about this too. So when I was younger, I lived in Minnesota with all of my relatives. And then we as a family all kind of dispersed from Minnesota. But when we moved out west, my mom went to pot roast on Christmas Eve. Mm-hmm. So we had a pot roast dinner. And somewhere, and it happened after I left high school, we kind of morphed into spaghetti, and then from spaghetti to lasagna for Christmas Eve. And then the last few years, and I didn't even tell you this, the last few years, then it went to crackers and olives and just all that good cheese. All the different kinds of cheese were so yummy.
So almost reverting back to when you were really young and you would come home and you would have that stuff.
Pretty much, exactly. And in your family, it was interesting because you traveled on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day.
Christmas Day.
Yes.
Yeah, so Christmas Eve, Christmas Eve day, it was always, when we were little, it was always my mom saying, go find something to do, because there were three of us and we were excited because it was Christmas, just like...
My mom told me to go find stuff to do, but I was all alone.
So we would do things, but then we always went to a Christmas Eve service at the church. Always had a Christmas Eve service. It was always a great service, and we always ended with the candle light, silent night.
So did you guys use the real candles?
Yes. Well, we used the real candles, and then we would come home, and after Christmas Eve, then my mom would set up this little table in the family room, and we would have like crackers and cheese and sausage and some Christmas cookies that she made. And then we would hang up our stockings and we would go to bed. I didn't say go to sleep, but we went to bed. So it's really hard. When you're little, it's really hard to go to sleep on Christmas Eve.
You just know, and every noise you hear. And of course, now for Kristen, she never had to worry whether she was on the naughty list or the nice list. For me, it was sketchy pretty much every year, all the way up until I was in high school. But no, it was always that. And I remember coming home Christmas Eve, and of course, being from the Midwest, especially when we lived there, a lot of your radio towers and your towers had red lights, and I always thought that was Rudolph. I would say, Mama, Rudolph, and of course she said, "Listen, Rob, you're in high school now." By the way, for everyone watching, I milked that as long as possible just because I like the extra gifts, just so you know. But no, but we did that, and then you went on Christmas Day.
Yeah, well, on Christmas Day, we would open up our presents at home, and then we would always go to my grandparents' house. And that's where all of my cousins and my aunts and uncles and stuff, we would get together and we would eat lunch and open up our presents there. And then we would get home later on at night.
So would you have a traditional meal on Christmas Day? What was your meal Christmas Day? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
Because
it was potluck, like everybody brought stuff. So I honestly don't remember. You know, eating to me was not nearly as important, you know.
Well, it wasn't for me either.
But for us, you know, the one thing for us as far as food is concerned, so my mom makes this walnut cake. And so for us, that is Christmas. Mm-hmm. And so she would
I've been allowed like a quarter of a sliver one time, and that's all I've ever had.
Yeah, we hoard it. We literally do. And it's one of those things that she would make it a couple of days in advance of Christmas, and then you couldn't get into it. But when it was Christmas morning, then we could have a piece of the walnut cake, and it was so good. She still makes it, and finally...
That's why I've had like... I get like this much. It was like a little piece on my plate, and I was like, "Well, that seemed enough really to taste."
But now we actually have Christmas, our family Christmas, with my mom and dad, and my brothers are a couple days after Christmas, and my mom and dad make this humongous breakfast. So it's not like you are going hungry.
I'm not. No, I'm not. Hey, I want to close out this part with something that I thought of, and I wanted to share because I did not like to eat on Christmas Eve. I was excited. I wanted to. And usually our Christmases, when we lived in Minnesota, were with my Aunt Levon. I want to give her a shout out if she's watching. Hey, Aunt Levon. And Aunt Levon would make, because I hadn't eaten, and by the time we'd leave, and usually, and we talked about this, usually we left the house at maybe 1 o'clock in the morning. It was 12:30, 1 o'clock on Christmas Eve. It's just about Christmas Day. And Aunt Levon knew that I was going to be hungry on the ride home. The ride home was about 20 minutes. So Aunt Levon would get out and she would make a big deal out of it. And to this day, in fact, I talked to her a couple months ago and we were talking about it and she was laughing. She would make this quick peanut butter and jelly sandwich for me, fold it over, and then she would, and this is going to age us, not let people believe we're young, but this is really going to age me, as Tupperware used to have glasses. And so she'd pour milk in the Tupperware, put a cap on it, and then on the way home, I would have arguably the best peanut butter and jelly sandwich there ever was. Because of course, being in Minnesota, you were excited about Christmas, about, you know, everything that was happening and your gifts. And also on the way home, it was cool. I still remember my mom and dad playing the radio, so you'd hear Christmas music. Mm-hmm. And I was in the back seat with mom holding my milk because my father did not trust me in his new cars, which he always had new cars by that time of year, holding milk also. So I had peanut butter with about 17 napkins around me from my father, who kept them in his glove box, covering me, around me. And then my peanut butter and jelly sandwich with like 3 tucked in because I had some Christmas outfit on that my mom didn't want me to get ruined because I had to have it for church. And so I looked like a napkin all wrapped up, and then I was eating that, and it was the best thing ever. Aunt Levon, still legendary. No one makes a peanut butter and jelly sandwich like my Aunt Levon.
Oh, that sounds like some fun Christmas memories.
It is. And now, of course, for us, we have gotten a chance to now be married for the last 4 years, 3 years, 3 months, and some days. But we've now created our own memories that we do. One of those is something that we started prior to getting married, and that's going to the Nutcracker. And
this will be our 5th year of going to the Nutcracker, and I love going. It's one of those things, if you go to the Nutcracker, you know, it's one of those things that makes you feel like Christmas really is right around the corner.
We get to do that here in Toledo. Did you know, Toledo, by the way, the Nutcracker here in Toledo is the longest continuous running Nutcracker?
I did not know that.
Yes. So interestingly enough, it never took a break during a lot of times it was during World War II and stuff that a lot of that stuff stopped. So they didn't. So that's pretty cool. And I grew up with that. That was one of the things that in my family, you went to the Nutcracker during the holiday, besides every other Christmas event. When you're a pastor's kid, it pretty much is just like the whole season is full of events.
Well, something that we always did growing up was we would make Christmas cookies. And that was something my mom, especially, she would make all kinds of Christmas cookies, just all different kinds. But one of the most exciting ones for us as kids would be to make the cutout cookies. You know, when you cut out the reindeer and the Christmas trees, and then she would get the frosting and the little sprinkles and everything, and we would all sit there at the counter in the bar stools, and we would get to decorate our Christmas cookies. And then, you know, maybe she would let us have a cookie.
So you got a cookie ahead of time?
Yeah.
See, my house, my mom made a lot of different kind of cookies. She was very much into Russian tea cakes.
Oh, my mom always made Russian tea cakes too.
And see, I wasn't a huge fan until I got older of Russian tea cakes. But my mom made these cookies on a sheet called toffee bars. Mm-hmm. And toffee bars, to me, that was Christmas. Because I got to lick, you melt chocolate chips on the top, mm-hmm. and I got to lick the spatula. Mm-hmm. And Mom would always leave extra. And that was always exciting. And then as I got older, Mom made me my own special tray, so that didn't have to go to any family events. And I could, yes, because I'm an only child, and that's the way we roll.
And that is something that now I make for Rob, and that's his mom's recipe.
It's so good, too.
And he make the toffee bars every year.
And tell everybody a little bit about those cookies you make with the sparkle on them. What are those called again? The ones that have that are snowflakes and they got the little sparkle.
Oh, they're sugar cookies, but they're sugar cookies and they're made with powdered sugar, and then the top of it is just a really thin icing, and then I take a sparkle sugar and I put them on top, so it makes it look like the snowflake cookies are sparkling, and they're flavored with lemon because they're lemon cookies. Yeah,
and they're so good. Of course, lemon, one of my favorite flavors, so that's always a lot of fun, and we appreciate you. And what we want you to do, because we've shared some of our things today. We would love to hear from you. Maybe you have a tradition. Maybe you string popcorn or string cranberries. Did you guys ever do that?
Not that I can recall.
My mom did popcorn one year. She did it for a tree. I believe it was at church. I could be completely wrong about that. But she did it for somewhere. Mm-hmm. And it was like everywhere in the house. These like long lines of things. But if you do something like that, maybe you do cranberries. A lot of people, I don't know. I don't see that as much now. But in the old days, the cranberry thing. Or maybe you're Scandinavian like I am. And then you have real live candles on your tree and you dance around the tree. The tree doesn't go in a corner in a Scandinavian house.
It goes in the center?
It goes more in this, not really the center, but yeah. And then you dance around the tree.
Interesting.
Yeah, little things that you need to know if you're ever at a Scandinavian house and you look and the tree's not in the corner. You're like, okay, these people just missed, or what did they do? But you have to dance around, and there's usually a little girl, and she wears the, can't think of what those are called. And I'm now going to get called out by all my Scandinavian relatives, but I know what it is. It's a little headband. It's got some ribbons go down the back, and have no idea what it's called. But you dance around the tree and you sing in Swedish, which I can't do. I can fake it. Like I'm the guy that sits next to somebody and goes.
That sounds like something you would do.
It's exactly what I would do.
So one of the things that I always look forward to at Christmas with you is just going around to the different places and looking at the lights. Mm-hmm. We've got the market in Bryan that's close by that we go to, which is always fun. Mm-hmm. And then the lights at the Toledo Zoo, mm-hmm. amazing.
Oh, definitely.
And then downtown Defiance, we have some light displays. It's always really a lot of fun. And sometimes you just never know how Santa is going to arrive.
Hey guys, you know what? I have heard Santa is about to arrive here at the Defiance Public Library, one of my favorite libraries in the country. This place is beautiful. We're excited. We're in Defiance, Ohio tonight, celebrating Christmas.
We are here inside the public library here in downtown Defiance, and we are roaming around downtown. Santa's right behind us telling stories to the kids. But in this particular building, I have a lot of memories of coming and checking out books as a kid. And we want to take you just on a tour of Christmas in downtown Defiance.
You're going to want to come to Defiance, Ohio. It is a wonderful small town. If you're planning a trip to Defiance, you have to come to my favorite coffee shop, Cabin Fever. The downtown location is so much fun and a great staff. You got to check out Cabin Fever. Tonight, we ordered hot chocolate.
Look what I found!
What did we find?
So one of the things that they are doing here in downtown Defiance is they are doing a scavenger hunt for Elf on the Shelf.
Colored lights or white lights?
Ooh,
That's a tough one.
that is a tough one.
Always fun to be able to go out and have an adventure and take you guys along with us.
So much fun wandering around our small town, get to see people that maybe we haven't seen since last year.
And seeing people we see every day at Meijer. Unfortunately, we're not sponsored by Meijer, unless you guys want to. And then we're okay with that. We'd wear Meijer shirts if you made it.
No, I would not.
Yes, we would.
No.
For the right amount of money, I would wear Meijer shirts. Call me. So, what are we going to learn about today?
We are going to be in Luke chapter 2. And I was thinking about this over the last couple of weeks, and it was one of those things that kind of jumped out at me in the Christmas story. And I decided to call this the 3 gifts of Christmas. And I know a lot of people might automatically jump to, the 3 gifts of the kings that came, or the wise men, whatever you want to call them, that came to bring Jesus gifts.
See, I had another idea. 3 gifts for me for Christmas. So, only child thing.
Yes. But this is the 3 gifts of Christmas. And we are going to be in Luke chapter 2 in verse 8. We're going to start in verse 8. And it says, "And there were in the same country shepherds abiding in the field. So Jesus had already been born and he was in Bethlehem. And so one of the things that this is taking us to, because we're transitioning to a different part of the Christmas story, it is reminding us that these people were in the same country. And it says, and there were in the same country shepherds abiding in the field, keeping watch over their flock by night. And lo, the angel of the Lord came upon them, and the glory of the Lord shone round about them, and they were sore afraid. I really find it interesting that the angel of the Lord decided to come to shepherds, who were the lowliest of all of the occupations. And yet the angel came to the shepherds, visited the shepherds, could have visited the kings, could have visited any number of people, but chose to visit the shepherds to bring this news. Now, the other thing that I did not know until this week when I was reading up on this is that shepherds during that time usually only had their flocks out between Passover and like October, November, somewhere around there. So the likelihood that Jesus was born in December is pretty slim. But I was wondering, since we don't know the exact day that Jesus was born, and we don't know the exact day that Jesus died, I wonder if it's possible that he was born and died on the same day, several years apart.
That is crazy. If you think about it, that is really cool.
You know, God appoints for all of us a time. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It was just something that I was thinking about, thinking that would be kind of interesting.
And it's interesting something you said though, because you talk about shepherds, and of course he was laid in a manger. Mm-hmm. So I mean, all of these tie-ins to that are pretty cool if you think about it.
Yeah, and it says in verse 10, it says, the angel said unto them, fear not, for behold, I bring you good tidings of great joy, which shall be to all people. So there's a couple of different things in there. And before I go back and talk about the three gifts of Christmas, I really wanted to talk about that word all. This is a message that was delivered to everyone. So everybody has the same right to these gifts. This wasn't something that was just for a certain class of people. This wasn't something that was even just for the Jew. This was something that was available for everybody alike. And in this, the angel came and he said that first of all, fear not, and behold, I bring you good tidings of great joy, which shall be to all people. For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, which is Christ the Lord. And this shall be a sign unto you, you shall find the baby wrapped in swaddling clothes, lying in a manger. And suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of the heavenly host, praising God and saying, glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill toward men. So in that passage, Rob, I saw three things that really stood out to me as far as things that happened in this conversation. And one of them was the first thing that the angel spoke, fear not. Now, if you remember from one of our previous episodes where I was talking about Jesus being the door and everything that you need goes through the door, who is Jesus, that is the first thing that I say is the first gift of Christmas, is the ability to be able to live free of fear, which is something that we wouldn't be able to do except for the fact that Jesus came.
Yeah.
And so for us, everything, when we believe in Jesus Christ, everything is through that door. And so one of those gifts that we now have is the ability to be able to live with the absence of fear. And sometimes in life, it just kind of grabs hold of you and it just becomes really difficult. And sometimes it is more difficult at this time of the year for some people because they are fearful of maybe a lot of things. Maybe they had something bad happen to them on a previous year around this time, a loss of a loved one, or, something else going on. And that initial feel of that fear that comes back. But another thing that this passage does say is it says, I bring you good tidings of great joy. So the second gift of Christmas is joy. And have you noticed that around in society in general, we see probably more joy during this time of the year than any other time?
Oh, everybody comes together. Everybody's happy. Everybody wants, they're talking about Christmas vacation or their time off. Oh yeah, you hear a ton about that.
Yeah.
And then of course the food.
Yes, food. But this joy is not something that is placed in the Christmas season. The true joy is found in Jesus Christ and in Christ alone. And so that is one thing that you might find happiness in other things, but you can only find joy through the gift of Jesus Christ. And so that was why I labeled joy as my second gift of Christmas. The third gift of Christmas is what we read in verse 14. Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill toward men. So the third gift of Christmas is peace. Mm-hmm. And that is something that we need to have in society in general, in life, is we need to have peace. But true peace passes understanding. And that's that peace that we can only get when we ask God for it. And if there is something in your life that you feel maybe fearful of, maybe you don't feel the joy, and maybe you feel like you need peace. Maybe you feel like you need peace with God, or maybe you feel like you need peace with your family or peace with your friends. Those are all things that you can have because of Jesus Christ.
Well, a lot of people deal with stress this time of year. So peace is gone because stress is there. They're worried about their gifts, or maybe they're just worried about survival. This time of year really puts a magnifying glass on all the financial struggles and financial things that people are going through. And so I think that this is a big key is, it's hard to find peace when you're so fearful about all of these things that are going on.
Society places an unrealistic expectation on us of what Christmas should look like. You got to find the perfect gift and have the perfect meal and do the perfect event. And you have to do all of these things because that's look at all of the Christmas movies. Everything is perfect in Christmas movie land of the things that are going on. But life in general hits people in different ways. And right now is a time that you might experience great joy because maybe there's something good that's going on. But there's also times where you might experience great sadness because, like us, it's the first time that you're going to be celebrating a holiday without a family member.
Yep.
Or maybe you lost a job or something else happened. But regardless of what those situations are, the only way to experience the perfect Christmas with the perfect gifts are to know Jesus Christ, because within knowing Jesus Christ, you are able to have the perfect Christmas with the perfect gifts in the perfect setting, because he brings us freedom from fear, he brings us joy, and he brings us peace.
That is awesome. Wow. It was a good one today. I was super excited about today. I hope you enjoyed today's edition of the Rob and Kristen Show. Remember that you can reach out to us on the app. Find us there. Also, you can email us at sales@abundanttv.com and go out and live an abundant life.